It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Tonight, let us make them remember we are not afraid!
No fear! No fear, no fear here on Declare Your Independence. With me, Ernest Hancock, and my very special guest I'm very happy to bring to you, Michael Before. He is the author of Rocketeers. Now, little warning, I want to let you guys know this. Rocketeers was published in 2007. It's been a few years since then that so much innovation has happened in the private race for Mars. I mean, the outer planet, we're going to space, and government is so not invited. Now, what we're going to be talking about today are the kinds of people, the philosophy, the innovation, where we are, what the involvement of government has been, what it can be. Is it or you just want them out of the way? Or is there a role that they can play? Or is it going to be an America thing? Is it going to be a humanity thing? Well, someone that has been spending time with the very people that have, I had no idea until I read his book just how mature the private space race was even before Spaceship One broke the barrier. They had a private citizen, no government money, went to space and back, did it again within 2 weeks to win the Anasari X Prize. Now, there is, and a lot of it has been NASA engineers and stuff, people, the big brain box people saying, look, man, we're not going to make it to space in our lifetime if we don't do it ourselves. They went out, they used their minds to make a lot, in a lot of these cases, in fact, they used the private market and the internet and innovation to make the money so they could go to space. It's been amazing to see what has happened and how quick. Now, let's get right to it because we only got an hour, Michael, and I could go on for days. Those that listen to the show, that's true. So we'll go ahead and go. Michael, I got you there?
Hey, how are you?
I am more than wonderful. Tell me, the type of minds, the first thing I want to know, the type of people that we're dealing with here, they are just innovators, American ingenuity? Are they great representations of humanity's cream of the crop? I mean, why are they so interested in getting off planet? What drives them?
It's all of the above, and it's all the things that have built this country. The kinds of people who put automobiles on assembly lines, created the internet, the telephone, all these things that we have that came out of this spirit, and this spirit of can-do American ingenuity is alive and well. And one of the greatest success stories of this is a guy named Elon Musk, and he just absolutely epitomizes this whole idea. He's South African, came here penniless to this country, became a citizen, and built up an internet business out of nothing, made millions, and now he's running the company SpaceX, Space Exploration Technologies, that's going to replace the space shuttle with a private vehicle. And he wants to do it so that we can extend humanity beyond planet Earth, ultimately colonize Mars. That's where he's headed.
Oh, and big dreams. I like big dreams. Me and big dreams were buddies, okay? Now, these people, let's go ahead and start with where it really started was probably we're looking in the late 90s. It kind of became the understanding of the people that wanted to do this, that they weren't going to wait anymore. They're just going to do it on their own. Can you kind of give us a chronology, walk us through? Now, while you're talking, I have a bunch of photos of when we were out at Mojave in the first launch of Spaceship One, and a lot of the spacecraft that we have right now. We have a lot of the pictures from different events and engine tests, and we're just going to let those roll for the YouTube audience to see just the kinds of things that are already be going on right, not later. So during that, why don't you go ahead and walk us through from, say, the late 90s and the major players in this, because you have went and interviewed and photographed and done articles for major magazines on this whole process. Please walk us through it.
Sure, yeah. There was a whole cadre of people who grew up during what I call the first space age, the government space age, going to the moon, who grew up with the belief that, hey, by the time they grew up, they were going to be going to Mars and the moon and everything like that themselves. Instead, what happened was it turned out to be just a flash in the pan. Once the moon was achieved, NASA lost its direction. The government was no longer that terribly interested in human exploration of space. So a lot of these folks grew up pretty frustrated and decided to make it happen themselves. The government wasn't going to do it for them. So we had Paul Allen, who's one of the brains behind Microsoft and, of course, worth millions of dollars, decided he was going to fund Burt Rutan's company, Scaled Composites, in its bid to win the Ansari X Prize, which was generated by Peter Diamandis, another one of these folks who really wanted to go to space himself and was tired of waiting for the government to get him there. In fact, he wanted to be a NASA astronaut initially, Peter Diamandis, and realized pretty quickly that the options there were very limited. Very few people who even apply to the program even get to be astronauts, and of those, not that many even get to fly. So he decided he was going to create a prize, and that was inspired by Charles Lindbergh and his race across the Atlantic Ocean, because it was a race to win the prize of his day, the X Prize of his day, that basically jump-started the commercial airline industry. So you had all these people coming together, Peter Diamandis, and of course there are other players in this too. I'd like to talk about them too, but this is kind of where the modern commercial spaceflight era got started. Peter Diamandis wants to put a prize out there to encourage private innovation in space, and the prize stipulated that no one who competed could get government funding. And Burt Rutan, owner of Scaled Composites, aircraft company out in Mojave, California, had the eventually the winning entry in this prize, and Paul Allen financing it. So he had financier, a visionary, and an engineer all coming together. And of course, the pilots who flew Spaceship One all came together to prove definitively, once and for all, you don't need the government to get to space. And that just opened up the door to all kinds of new financing, new innovation, and a lot of ideas that had been kicking around for a long time finally got some traction, started to take off.
Well, what were some of the hurdles that they really had to take care of? I mean, one of the things is just propulsion. We gotta have a rocket engine that's going to get us up there. And they got a lot of. You had the people with the money and the dream, and the main thing is they're able to run businesses and coordinate. And they're looking at NASA's budget and they're going, two things. One, they waste a lot of money. And two, they would pass up innovation and better ways of doing things in exchange for congressman's special interest kind of military-industrial complex, we want this contract, as opposed to actually having something that worked better. So when you have people that come across and they're just like, I'm so done, and then they see an opportunity to go into the private space travel, they're going, done. I'm over here now. So this kind of thing, what was one of the things that we need to talk about are the rocket engines. Who made the biggest innovation there?
Well, he doesn't toot his horn this way, and Burt Rutan certainly doesn't do it for him, but I met a guy named Tim Pickens out in Huntsville, Rocket City, another one of these folks who grew up during the space age. His dad worked on Apollo. He figured, well, when I get big enough, I'm going to work on rockets too. And as he described it to me later, by the time he came up, it was as though a bunch of aliens had come down to Huntsville, Alabama, built a bunch of cool stuff, and then left. So he decided to start building his own rockets in his garage. And Burt Rutan, as I describe the story in my book, went out to Huntsville figuring, okay, that's Rocket City, USA. Let me find some propulsion guys out there to power up my spacecraft.
Yeah, that's a good place to break. We're going to be, they wanted to go to space. And you just you got the money. I went and made the money. Now let's go do it. We're doing it. We are so doing it. You guys stay right there. We're going to show you how, where, and who. Man, today's the show. We'll be right back.